Good evening, everyone. Welcome. My name is Rachel Geula, and on behalf of the clergy and the lay leadership of Temple Israel of Great Neck, we warmly welcome everyone here this evening. It is my honor to introduce my dear friend, Michelle Ahdoot. Michelle began her work with End Jew Hatred long before October 7th, but when the world changed, she rose to meet the moment with extraordinary strength and leadership. She has become one of the driving forces of this vital organization. Michelle, along with the incredible advocates joining her tonight, Aliza Licht, Lizzy Savetsky, Tanya Zuckerbrot, and Lindsay Pinchuk
What a panel.
represent the fierce resilience of the Jewish people. We are humbled to have these wonderful voices on our bima this evening. Without any further ado, please join me in turning your attention to Michelle as she leads this important conversation.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm on, right? Yes, I'm on.
Michelle!
Oh, ooh la la. This is going to be so fun, everybody. So I need you all to know, first of all, Rachel, thank you so much. When this idea came up, I think it wasn't even a month ago, of just doing something strong, empowered women, and I love that men are also here to hear from empowered women. I quickly texted these incredible women. Within 2 minutes, all of them said, of course, are you crazy? I said, crazy idea. Would you help me do this as an End Jew Hatred fundraiser? I know you have no time to spare. 2 minutes, they're all on board. The next 2 minutes, I texted Rachel and Lisa Goodwin from Temple Israel asking them, crazy idea. Do you think Temple Israel would be willing to host this fundraiser for us? Nonstop, right away, they jumped on board. So right there, it was really a display of how I always say, Ahdoot, unity. That was true unity right there. So thank you, and thank you all for coming, and we're gonna get started. So we'll start with that. So now, we are talking a little bit about, what am I going to ask? I'm not even sure what we're gonna talk about, but I know it's gonna be good. And these ladies have no idea what I'm going to ask because I'm not even sure. But the main thing that we're focusing on tonight is empowerment. It's staying fearless and courageous, even in the face of crazy hate and adversity. And I'm just quickly going to take a moment to read bios of these 4 incredible women, and then we're going to get into it. So let's start with Lindsay Pinchuk. Lindsay, for any of you that don't know her, she's an award-winning acquired founder and marketing consultant turned accidental activist, which is a great term for post-10/7 activists, to see how many people just really took the reins and became that empowered, unapologetic, fearless human being and fearless Jew. It has been absolutely phenomenal. So following October 7th, that's Lindsay, and each week she spills 18 ways Chai to support our tribe in her newsletter, The Chai Tea. When she's not fighting the Jewish community, she's also the founder and host of Dear Found Her, a community and top 1.5% podcast for female entrepreneurs. Lindsay.
Woo! Really?
Crazy. Lindsay. And then we have Aliza Licht, my favorite red lipstick girl. Aliza is an award-winning marketer, best-selling author, podcaster, personal branding expert, and career development coach. I don't know how many of you have read her book, On Brand, her recent book. It's amazing. If you haven't. Actually, someone here in the crowd today came up to me and said, how did you get this panel together? Each woman is better than the next. And I read Aliza's On Brand book, and now I'm getting to meet her tonight. So Aliza, you're amazing. You've been a prominent figure in the fashion media industries for over 25 years. I don't know how you started, when you were 2 years old? Yeah. And as the founder of Leave Your Mark, a multimedia brand and consultancy, you advise businesses and individuals on brand strategy. So that's Aliza. Lizzy, my Lizzy Savetsky. Lizzy, I don't even know if she needs an intro, but we're gonna give her one anyway. She's a digital advocate for Israel and the Jewish people who uses her platform to spread truth, bring awareness, and fight hate. I think that is the shortest bio for such a huge personality, but that's Lizzy.
I don't like hearing my bio read.
That's Lizzy.
I get really bad secondhand embarrassment. That's all you need to know.
Lizzy's amazing.
Everything else is on Instagram.
And then we have Tanya Zuckerbrot. Tanya, should I say your fun fact that you were bat mitzvahed here? Well, now that I said
Great
it.
nectar, as we like to say. Yes, I was bat mitzvahed on this bima
Yeah, so it's really.
just a few years ago.
Really, so it's really full
No,
circle
I am
moment.
so happy
No.
and honored to be back here.
But-
I keep asking people to send videos of tonight so I can send to my parents. Because this is so meaningful to me to be back at Temple Israel. I went to Sunday school here. It's really,
No, it's
Yeah.
good stuff. Yeah, we all loved Hebrew school here, right? It was amazing.
that was,
My kids loved it the most of all. But now, onto your bio, Tanya. Tanya, MSRD, is the CEO and founder of F Factor, a best-selling author and media personality as well. And also, since 10/7, you've been an outspoken activist using your platform to fight Jew hatred and raise millions in support for Israel-related causes. You serve on the boards, and I can speak as also WITSO and FIDF are so close to my heart as well. And you serve on the boards of WITSO, FIDF Women's Brigade, Shasheret, which is incredible as well. And recently, I don't know how many months ago, Tanya, that you represent WITSO at the United Nations, advocating globally for Israel and the empowerment of women and children. So, as you can see, these four women are just a little bit busy, as am I, but we're gonna take a pause tonight to really talk about how we got here, how you all got here. We have an amazing crowd here tonight that I know a few people told me what they wanted to get out of here tonight is how can they help? How can they be an activist? How can they, move the needle on Jew hatred? And I think that's what we want you all leaving here with today. The first, just side note, the brochures that were at all your seats talk about our End Jew Hatred movement. We are a civil rights movement, nonpartisan, that all we are in the business of is wanting everybody, Jewish and non-Jewish, to know that it's unacceptable to hate Jews, just like it's unacceptable to hate any other minority and speak, badly and harass any other minority. That's what we're doing. So Ends Jew Hatred does it through on-the-ground rallies. We do it through digital advocacy, which I'm going to stop now because anyone who's part of our action items groups knows that all day long you are getting links from us. Sign and send this letter to the president of Colombia to tell her that she sucks. Sign and send this letter to, Hackensack Medical Center that they have a Jew-hating doctor. All day long, and we have volunteers that aren't getting paid a dime, that are working 24 hours a day, drafting, researching, composing those, captions that we're sending out. And I need to pause because these volunteers have become my best friends digitally, and I get a little bit speechless when I talk about them, but we have 3 of them here tonight. So I need Faye Feder, I need Eileen Gabayza, and I need Melinda Thaler. Stand up. I'm not letting you not stand up. No, they are. No. Guys, I cannot
The unsung heroes.
And I apologize if anyone else is here that are like the true digital advocates, but when I tell you what they do, I just can't even, overstate it enough. We have our WhatsApp chats that we get, we have a reach of about 10,000 people. Faye has her WhatsApp chats that she has a reach now of about 16,000 people. 20,000 people, okay? Eileen has her WhatsApp chats, also a reach of about 10,000 people. So jointly, every link that we're sending is reaching upwards of 40,000 people that are then sending to our targets to make sure that change is made. So I had to just say that, and now we're gonna move on. So read those brochures, take them with you, see how you could get involved. There's gonna be much more to come, but now I'm turning it over to all of you. So to my point, how did you get here in the Jewish space? How did you get into the Jewish advocacy space? And what was that aha moment of, wow, I need to fight this and do something? Lindsay?
Okay, so I am a proud Jewish Midwesterner. Thank you for having me here today. I grew up in Detroit, and I went to Jewish overnight camp. I was bat mitzvahed. My parents were founding members of our temple. And my kids go to my overnight camp, my Jewish overnight camp. So this is very important, obviously. I went on the March of the Living in 1997, and it was really in that moment, and very specifically when I went to Majdanek, which is a death camp outside of the city of Lublin in Poland, where really no one walked out of. And upon leaving Majdanek and realizing that I was walking out of Majdanek, that was when I was like, never again. And I made the commitment that no matter what, never again. And fast forward to my adult life, I spoke out for every oppressed group known to man through my businesses and through my social media. And so on October 7th, when I woke up and like all of you guys saw what was going on, I was beside myself. And I live in a really, and you're not gonna believe me when I say this, but I live in a very non-Jewish part of Northbrook, Illinois. And for me, it was very much educating the people who are around me to understand what was going on and what I was feeling. And that's why I started speaking up. And so it really took me a minute to find my words. And October 8th, I was at Whole Foods. I'm a suburban mom, like so many of you guys. And I was just, the thoughts were racing in my head. And I went out to the parking lot and I made a video. And I made a video sharing how I went on the March of the Living. I read Number the Stars, Never Again. And I just really put myself out there. By the time I drove home, which was 7 minutes, the video had been seen by about 100,000 people. And I was astounded. And I couldn't believe the reaction that I was receiving, both from Jewish and non-Jewish people, and from a lot of the people in my town that are not Jewish. And that was the aha moment. That was the aha moment.
And did you already have your platform? You had a platform, so you had the followers, you had the people that were...
I had a platform. So my platform at the time was probably about 13,000 people. It was just from me being an entrepreneur, and I owned a parenting company 5 years ago for a decade. And so that was where the platform came from. But in the time since October 8th, so I've lost probably, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000 followers, but I've gained like 30,000 followers. Right. So
that's it.
I mean, the bottom line is I started talking and I have not stopped since, and I will not stop.
And she hasn't stopped, and it's funny because whenever anything Chicago related comes up, you know, we have all our go-tos. Chicago related comes up, Lindsay's our go-to. Aliza is my go-to. If I need her to do a quick reel that I want to link a letter to, Aliza's like, I'm getting the lipstick on and I'm ready to go. No, Lizzy is my go-to. If I need Lizzy to come out to any rally with me, no matter what, as long as she is in the state of New York, she is there in her hoodie with her megaphone. That's Lizzy.
My happy place.
And Tanya is so incredible because Tanya, no matter how busy she is, no matter what she's doing, I text her, she's there for me. If I need her to post a video to fundraise for End Jew Hatred, if I need her to throw a t-shirt on and go take a picture outside the Louvre in Paris, she'll do that. It's just incredible, Tanya, what you do and what you all do. So I have to give that plug that everyone has their thing. And I mean, in the End Jew Hatred world, and they all do it, and they do it so well and so loudly. So thank you. So now, Aliza, tell us your story.
Say, it starts at the top, Michelle. So
Thank
I think everyone needs to give Michelle. It starts at the top. Okay, so End Jew Hatred, I don't even know if you and I discussed this, because End Jew Hatred is part of my accidental activist story.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
I love it.
So I, of course, I'm in the fashion industry. I was very pissed off when Kanye went on his first anti-Semitic rant. I made a video that went pretty far, didn't even pay attention to it, and that was it. And about a month after that, End Jew Hatred, maybe it was you, I don't know, somebody from End Jew Hatred Instagram DM me and they said, we love your video on Kanye. Would you be willing to make another video about why it's important to stand up for, against anti-Semitism? And I was like, totally, but I was thinking, well, it's not really relevant right this minute. Like, I'm not gonna do it right now. And I was a little embarrassed with myself to actually be thinking in terms of brand, but that's what I do. And so I just stopped. But on the morning of October 7th, my sister and I took our mom to Las Vegas for her birthday. So we were like literally gambling in the hotel at Wynn. And I get a DM from End Jew Hatred saying, I'm so sorry to bother you. I don't know if you saw what happened in Israel. Would you be willing to make a video? It's like no, I'm literally playing blackjack. I have no idea what happened in Israel. And then we go up to the room, we turn on the news, and I'm horrified. And I'm like, okay, you guys, leave the room. I need to make a video right now. And you have that moment of like, well, what's going to happen if I say this, right? I think that's why you're all here to be inspired, because it's like, what if you do that? And what you realize when you do it, as all of us know, is that people need you to do it, and you inspire others to do it. So that video got to 2 million pretty quickly. It was really sort of, also my network was probably shocked that I did it because it was so off-brand for me. And then you realize that you're giving other people a voice, and then it didn't stop. So I stopped promoting my book for 6 months. I stopped everything and only did Jewish activism, and then sort of tried to make it an and, not an or. But I will add, on Being Jewish Now, the anthology that Zibby Owens edited, 75 of us, I'm one of the contributors. It is a beautiful book of Jewish essays about life, love, family, post-October 7th. Please buy it. All proceeds also go to Artists Against Anti-Semitism. It's called On Being Jewish Now. Give it as a Hanukkah gift, give it as a Christmas gift. That is a great thing for you all to do.
Christmas.
Right, what? Non-Jews need to know what it's like to be being Jewish now.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good point, actually. That's why you do what you do.
I see that on brand. Lizzy, tell us your story.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, I'll try to give an abbreviated version of my journey to activism. First of all, I have to say, Aliza has been a mentor of mine for years from the fashion space. Tanya, I used to like just die over, just worship. And I was an F Factor client. And, you know, it's just wild to me that the three of us have really been on this journey together this year with Michelle and Lindsay. And, you know, it's so incredible how the world works. Like these two women that I literally looked up to in such a profound way. And now we're all sitting here together. So it's just like it's a kind of a cool moment for me, guys. But my activist journey started at a very young age. I went to this camp when I was, I don't know, summer after freshman year of high school, called Camp Anytown from the National Conference of Christians and Jews. And I was sent by my school because it was supposed to be a very diverse group. So they're like, you could be the Jewish one. And sure. And I had this very eye-opening experience there, and I came back, and just the kind of person that I am, I was like, well, it can't just end there. I can't just take all of this information in and benefit from it myself. I have to do something with it. So I started a diversity club in my school, and then I started traveling around the country advocating throughout high school. And then when I went to college, same thing. I ended up getting a master's in multicultural education. This was my passion, was cross-cultural education, building bridges. And so, you know, around 2021, I had this realization that there was really nobody who wanted to build bridges with us. And it was really a devastating realization for me, very shocking. And I made a decision to abandon everything that I had worked for, everything that I was passionate about, because I felt like my own people needed me. And I couldn't do both because there was nobody on the other side to partner with. And I had this real awakening in the spring of 2021. Israel was attacked by a barrage of rockets from Hamas. And instead of the world having sympathy for the civilians who had been killed in Israel and their families, and sympathizing with the fact that Israel had no choice but to defend herself, I saw the world demonizing Israel. I saw all these people I had followed on social media, all these celebrities, all these big influencers that I had built relationships with, suddenly jumping to demonize Israel without knowing at all what they were talking about, without having any background, without having ever been to the Middle East or to Israel. And I was really upset, and I made the decision to completely pivot my platform. It was very off-brand, but now very on-brand. And I just started posting for Israel, and it was really, really challenging on my mental health. I was not prepared for what was to come. I felt unlike now, I felt very, very much alone in the fight. I was fortunate to connect with Michelle not long after I moved to New York, and I started showing up to these end Jew hatred rallies, and it would be like, we would have like 15 people, outside the UN. The guy with the carriage with the dog. I love these people.
No, and when we say 15 people, 15 characters, everybody.
Characters.
But part of being an activist is embracing every character.
I love them. These are my people.
And they were coming out. They
I
were
love
coming
them.
out.
I love them. They show up. Oh my God. They wear like the face mask. I love them. These people are my people. And I was so happy to connect with Michelle and to have help mobilizing the fight that I had inside of myself and that I was already activating on social media and take it to the streets. And it's, obviously this past year, I was in Israel on October 7th, and I knew from the minute that we entered the bomb shelter that my life was going to be extremely busy because I was already doing this work and I knew exactly what would happen, that it was going to be so needed. I knew that this wave of anti-Semitism was going to come. I wasn't shocked at all by that, and I feel fortunate to have had the partner in Jew hatred and to be able to do the work.
All of us together, really. Thank you. Tanya, let's go.
I want to thank, I think, Aliza, who gave you the shout out, but I don't think you can receive enough gratitude and recognition for the work that you do.
Guys,
And
thank you. It's
Chloe, who's also here, that I've had the
everybody,
privilege
really.
of getting to know, and Daisy,
Everybody.
who work with both End Jew Hatred and the Lawfare Project. Many of us are forward-facing, and it goes without saying that this takes a village, and not everyone feels comfortable going on social media, but the work that all of you do collectively is
all of us collectively, all of
so
us collectively,
impactful,
and everybody here collectively.
yes, you
is-
guys just even showing up.
That's it.
I want to
exactly.
thank you for showing up tonight, because it's actually what inspires us to keep going. Because imagine if they asked us to show and then no one was here. It makes you question if you're having an impact. So thank you, everyone, for having me tonight. My mom moved out of Great Neck a while ago, so I have not been back to Great Neck in a while. And I can't tell you, just I'm flooded with childhood memories right now, and being, as I said, in this temple, on this bima where I was bat mitzvah. Lizzy, of course, is like, what did you wear to your bat mitzvah? And I described it to her, but anyhow.
It was pink.
It was pink and ruffled and long sleeves.
Very Glinda.
And so thank you, Michelle, for the invitation. And I am so humbled and honored to share a stage with the three of you. I am inspired by all of you every day. And I have learned so much from all three of you with your individuality, how you are each able to take very challenging information and share it in a way for all of us to be easily digested. And that was my dietitian joke, okay? How did I get here? I would say that there is definitely a similarity to why we're all here, which is that deep down, we have a strong Jewish identity, and there just felt a need. And if you know anything about me, it's really important for me to be living a purposeful life, a purpose-driven life. And that may mean different things to other people, but I was really one of these people that when I built a career, I just wanted to do something that left the world a better place than I found it. I wanted to leave an imprint. Of course, your children, should always be your greatest legacy, and I do hope that mine will be, but I also felt that as women, I could also, on a parallel track, have a career. But it was really important that I chose a career where I felt I was helping people through education, through inspiration, sometimes through humor, but by showing up and looking people directly in the eye and communicating that I see you and I care about you, and I'm here for you, and I want to inspire you to be your best self. So that's sort of what makes me tick. Another one of my qualities is I'm pretty righteous, which is why you don't want to get into a fight with me, because I really see the world in a certain way, and it doesn't mean the way that I see the world is right, by the way. It doesn't mean that I'm right, it's just how I see it. So similar to what Lizzy was saying, on October 7th, like many of you, I sat in just shock. Who could ever believe that this could happen to our Israel? With the best army, the brightest army in the world, with the best technology. Like, how could a fence be breached? How could this happen? And how could we see such brutality towards the Jewish people? I don't know if I was naive, unlike Lizzy, who said, like, she had a premonition, she recognized how much Jew hatred existed. I didn't. I grew up in Great Neck. I went to the University of Michigan. I was an SDT. I went to NYU. I moved to Manhattan. I joined Central Synagogue. My children were bar mitzvahed. I lived, I don't want to say a sheltered life. Certainly, I've been to third world countries. I've seen, impoverished people. But I've never, as a Jew, necessarily felt afraid to show my Jewish identity. I never feared leaving, Hillel at the University of Michigan and walking back to my sorority in fear that something would happen to me the way that my son, who's at the University of Michigan, has had to think about his safety on campus. But going back to October 7th, like so many of you, I just could not understand and process what we had just witnessed. It did not feel real. And like most of you, the expectation was the world was going to see Israel as a victim, as one of the most horrific, brutal terrorist attacks in the world. And yet, in less than 24 hours on social media, I wasn't just seeing misinformation, it was disinformation, which is something I had to learn the difference. Are you guys aware of the difference of these two words? Misinformation is when people say something not really mistakenly, like not knowing that they're telling a mistruth. Disinformation is a dissemination of information that you know is wrong for the sake of harm. And I just could not believe how the social media was being flooded with this disinformation. Words like, which we've all heard them echo, colonialism, genocide, apartheid, that if you've ever been to Israel, you're like, wait, what? Like, where are these words coming from? There's nothing more antithetical to what Israel stands for. I'm so proud to be part, and I see my fellow members of the FIDF, of the Women's Brigade in New York City, the FIDF. It is the most humanitarian army in the world. The saying for the FIDF is their job is to protect and support Israel. Our job is to, I don't know, you're like, no, that's not how the saying goes, but
She got it.
Support them and protect them. I could understand what was being said about the IDF. I was like, it was upside down world. So I took to my social media within like these women, and unlike Aliza, who we know is a brilliant marketer, she's very thoughtful, what's on brand. Probably one of my biggest liabilities, I don't think things through. I am very reactive and righteous, and I didn't think, is there going to be a consequence for saying the truth? I didn't think there was a consequence of standing up for Jewish people. I didn't think there was going to be a consequence for somehow talking about that people were brutally murdered and that people were taken as hostages. It never occurred to me there would be a backlash. And therefore, I just went on my Instagram and I made a video and my account was deactivated. And luckily, through people, I got it back, but the video was forever taken down. And the video, by the way, I had just taken content that was off the internet. It was not that I had filmed anything that was wildly more brutal than anything that had aired on any news channel. And I think that's what I found to be so shocking, because I'm like, wait, this is not disinformation. Like, this is what's available. This is what I'm able to source and just piece it together to make a video to really highlight the brutality of that day, that it really felt it was hearkening back to the days of like 1939, the Holocaust. So I'm sorry I'm being long-winded. I know it was a very sort of direct question, how did you get here? I got here to summarize because there is no other place I believe that I am supposed to be. I did not think about it. It feels that it is my responsibility as a Jewish person to speak up when I see something wrong. As you, Lindsay, had said, the Jewish people have been there for every minority disenfranchised group in the world. And more than anything, I did not want to look back at the end of my life and ask myself, could I have done something? Could I have done anything? And sometimes I wonder, does it matter what I do? Do I make a difference? Like, and we all feel this way on some days.
Yep.
Even if I don't, but thank you, but even if the answer was no, no one cares, you didn't make a difference at all, I could look at myself and say, but I know I tried.
Exactly. No, that was beautiful.
Can I just add something I forgot to say?
No, that was beautifully said.
I just want to add one thing that you just reminded me of. One of the things that I forgot to mention in telling my story was that moment, that gut check moment, the on-brand moment in Vegas. You have that thought of like, am I going to lose followers? Am I going to lose clients? Am I going to sort of like be unfriended in any way? And the first thing that came to my head was all 4 of my grandparents were Holocaust survivors. And I literally said to myself, am I going to really care about losing any of that when they survive the camps? And that is just the line in the sand.
No, absolutely. And I think everyone has that one moment that's an aha moment, and it's all weighing positives, negatives in your life. And Tanya, I don't know if you remember, but less than 24 hours post 10/7, so on the 8th, we quickly got our act in gear. For those of you that know me, I'm very action-oriented and I thrive off doing. So right when we heard the tragedies and what occurred, we got in gear and we said, we're gonna rally, we're gonna do something. So across the street from the UN, we got word out, we got together, we had about 1,000 people come that day, and Tanya was there, and we are there and we're rallying, and Natalie with some of you in the crowd were there, and we're there rallying, and during the rally, while we're screaming, we are not afraid, we are not afraid, I had the Commissioner of International Affairs calling me saying, Michelle, wrap it up. You have a mob of people coming from Times Square towards the UN. I'm like, we are not afraid. And I'm whispering to my cousin, and my husband, I'm like, I'm a little afraid. We are not afraid. But point being, I think there's something to be said about courage, even when deep down you don't have so much courage, making sure that you show that you're not afraid so that everybody around you feeds off that, and everyone else around you realizes that you have to suck it up and do something that's outside your comfort zone to make a little bit of a difference even. So I want to turn it over to courage now. And I think it's a mix of both courage and multitasking. All of you are moms, all of you are businesswomen. So there's the piece of, and you could take the question wherever you want it to, but there's the piece of how do you balance it all, and how do you overcome the fear, because I know all of you get a lot of hate coming your way, a lot of threats coming your way. And you know what, Lizzy, I'm going to start with you specifically because I know that you and your husband got so much hate a couple of times that even our Lawfare Project attorneys tried to help out, and you still blaze ahead even with that, having 3 small kids, how?
I have talked about this past year. I don't even think I'm exaggerating. I think we had the NYPD at our apartment more than we had our friends over. It was really intense. And it's not something I often talk about or share about on social media. I don't want to make other people afraid to stand up. And I'm good. Like, I am okay. I think I'm missing the fear gene, which may be a separate issue that we should talk about another time. But it's like Aliza said, she thinks about her 4 grandparents who survived the Holocaust. I think about everything that my ancestors went through, and we were sitting pretty. We were having this really beautiful, privileged, amazing life. We got really comfortable in America, and we forgot that this is our story. And I cannot shirk my responsibility as a Jewish person. I firmly believe, I'm religious, and I believe that God put me on this earth at this moment and gave me this platform that I have for a reason, and I better use it and not waste it. And I think, I think of all of us in this room as having that same job. We were all made for a time such as this, like it says in the book of Esther. Why are we here right now? Why were we made, Jewish women and the few men who are here, in this moment? It's because we have a job to do, whether it's committing ourselves more deeply to our Jewish identity, which I know so many people have done in this past year, which I think is one of the most beautiful things that's come out of this, is how I've seen people, a woman baked challah for us, which is Tracy.
I was gonna give that shout out, actually. Everyone, now that you brought that up, challah queen, Tracy, baked us all challahs, so beautiful. And she also has these amazing challah kits that are just so easy. Tracy's just adding water, essentially, right? So Tracy's amazing, and afterwards, we'll also give a shout out to all of there are a few amazing vendors here that are all giving proceeds to a percentage to End Jew Hatred. But Tracy, thank you so much.
Literally.
And really,
Literally.
thank you. Please have that challah. Go ahead.
No, Tracy was telling me she has a need to need, which I love. I need to punch something. I don't know. Maybe I could punch the dough. Sorry, I have a minor rage issue, which I channel at all the End Jew Hatred rallies. I'm really fueled by my anger, and I try. I think that I don't think there's anything wrong with the motivation to fight. I think we just need to channel it properly. And I think we have to use all of our anger and our sadness as fuel for this fight in whatever way it best serves us, whether it's connecting to our Jewish activities, whether it's getting active online, anything. I mean, I think we all have different gifts. There's this beautiful Jewish saying that I learned when I was learning in Israel many, many years ago. It talked about the symphony of the stars, and this is something that has stuck with me, and I think about it every day. How every single one of us has a note that we have to play in order for our symphony to be in perfect harmony. And if we're not playing our note, if we stay silent, it's all thrown out of whack. Or if we try to play someone else's note, if somebody else tries to knead like Tracy, it may not work. I can't knead, so I'm not gonna do the baking. But we all have a note that we have to play in order for it to work beautifully. And I think we really have to look within and figure out what that is. And I know that not everyone is missing the fear gene like I am, and I think that's okay. Not everyone needs to be out there putting themselves in the line of fire in the same way that I am. But we can find whatever courage we have and use it in whatever way we feel comfortable. And that's why, we're all created differently. We're all created so beautifully unique. And that's what makes it so perfect when we all work together. And I just want to say, I think we had such a beautiful moment of unity following October 7th. And I don't want to see that go away. When I see the division, I think a lot of times people will think of unity and they're like, but you're not being unified because you're calling out people that have a different belief than you. And I don't think that that's what it means. I think we should hold our differences of opinions and our different viewpoints and still maintain respect and still work together, but have the measured fights. And I think that's important. I think our different views and different voices are important. And so speak up, even if you're scared that somebody's going to disagree with you. Find your voice and use it.
Absolutely. No, and that's actually, that's our recurring theme. Anyone on our End Jew Hatred team and anyone here knows, anyone in our action items groups, how many times I stress that as a movement, we're nonpartisan. As a movement, we have different opinions. But at the same time, one thing that we can all agree on is that we're in the same fight to end Jew hatred and call it out when we see it. And what makes the world go around is differences of opinions. What makes Jews are having different opinions,
We're one big dysfunctional
that's
family.
what it is, and it's beautiful, but I think it's very important to embrace the fact that you could be united even with such vast differences. And until if you don't embrace that, then we're nowhere. And that also goes with organizations working together. And, everyone has their, different ways of doing things. And I always say it's okay if we don't agree on how we're going to get to the end, but we all want to get to the same end game, and we could figure it out, take different paths and, different pathways to get there. Lindsay, talk about how do
I'm
you do
going
it
to
all?
put the courage into 2 buckets. So there's the family and kids bucket, and then there's the work bucket. So 3.5 weeks after October 7th was my daughter's bat mitzvah. And I was beside myself, like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna have this celebration? Can we celebrate? I don't know. I wasn't talking about anything with work on Instagram, and I'll get into that in a minute. But as I spoke up and as I spoke out, all I could think about was setting an example for my kids. And that is still how I see this all the time, is like, I want them to see me strong and proud and speaking up and not afraid. And again, I'm gonna go back to the fact that there are Jewish people where I live, but I don't live in a very Jewish area. And as I've been speaking out, my kids have said, I wanna wear a Jewish star, and I want to do X, Y, and Z, and I wanna come with you to this fundraiser. And that is why I do this. And so the hate, all the shit that we all get all day, every day, it doesn't matter. I mean, really and truly, my mom was so horrified. I have this keynote address that I give, and in the keynote, there's all these like screenshots of all the horrible things that people have said to me. And I'm giving this talk, and my mom and dad were in the front row. And I was like, oh God, Mom, like, close your eyes, because you are not gonna believe this. And the whole point of it, though, is that it doesn't matter. Like, these people are keyboard warriors. I move on, I move forward, and I really just think of that North Star, which is my kids. And like, the world that I want them to live in is a world that we speak up and we're not afraid. And so that's kind of like the first courage bucket. Now, the second courage bucket is the work bucket. And like a lot of these women, I use social media for work. And so after October 7th, I all of a sudden wasn't talking about my podcast. I wasn't even releasing podcasts. I was so afraid to talk about anything else but what was going on, because it felt weird to me. And someone, like, in 1 week, 3 people were like, what do you do? What do you actually do when you're not like fighting for the Jews? And I realized, like, oh my God, I'm so not on brand, and like, and I need to speak up and say. So I came out and I said, I am an entrepreneur, I'm a marketer, and this is what I do when I'm not fighting for the Jewish people. And my mom, in typical like Jewish mom fashion, called me up one day and she said, like, are you losing clients? Like, are you okay? Like, and I was like, the funny thing is, I'm not. Because when you speak up and you speak out and you're yourself, the right people come back to you. And so I all of a sudden was getting inquiries for business once I said what I did. My phone has not stopped ringing, and I've gotten projects within the Jewish space, out of the Jewish space. And it really was an eye-opener to me that it doesn't matter, and you just have to be yourself, and it's okay to speak up and speak out and be courageous to do it. And I want to add one more thing, because I think that this is actually an important lesson. So I was tapped for a really big project, probably my biggest post-acquisition project that I've ever had. And I'll say who it is now. I can say who it is. It was with Once Upon a Farm. And I was talking to them about the project, and I was at the pool. It was a year ago right now. I was at the pool over Christmas break, holiday break, and I went down back to the pool after this conversation, opened up Instagram, and Jennifer Garner and her daughter were walking down the street, and she was wearing an Israel shirt with a watermelon in it. And I was like, shit, like, how am I gonna take this contract? I can't take this contract. Like, I cannot take this job working for this woman who is not going to say something. And I called them and we had a conversation about it, and I know that the brand is not her, but I was going to have to put her out there to my contacts, and she was not making a statement, and so I walked away. And it was hard. I mean, it was a financial implication to my family. But guess what? Other projects came that were far greater, and that's what happens.
Nice. Really.
I remember that. By
We
the way,
talked about that. I
Yeah,
think
we did. We did
I
talk about
called you,
it.
I think, to ask you
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, she didn't make a statement because she agrees.
Well, of course.
Yeah. Not a fan. Courage. So I think courage comes from knowledge. And any single person can gain knowledge by doing research. So if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I report the news with a twist, a lot of sarcasm, a lot of snark, because I want it to be something that has a bit of levity, even though it's always such horrible news. And I'm courageous about it because I know what I'm saying is deeply researched. So I don't care what the backlash is because I know I have the facts to back it up. That's number one. Number two is, I would say for the first 4 months after October 7th, my videos were going so viral, like 10 million, 5 million, like crazy. I stopped looking at comments completely. Like I didn't see it. To the point on TikTok, I got a notification from TikTok saying, "We think you're being bullied. We think you should turn on the anti-bullying feature." Didn't know they had that toggle. And I laughed because I'm like, I had no idea I'm being bullied. That's so great. So basically, what you realized after a while is it was all bots. It was all bots. And then when the bots went away, I was penalized by Instagram. My account was shadow banned. Once the bots realized that my account was no longer like an active account that was going to go viral, they left. And now if you look at my comments, I have barely hate. I'll probably jinx myself now because they forgot about me. They're no more. So the point is, if you harden yourself to it, in On Brand, can I curse in this room? I know it's a temple, but like,
I did.
It's okay. The ark's not open. I think
in
it's
On Brand, my book, I have a chapter called Zero Fucks Given Branding. And we know people who have zero fucks given branding. And I've always looked it down upon it in terms of like, wow, they're really not thinking about their brand. And now I'm like, yeah, you know what? You know why zero fucks given branding works? Because you literally cannot be canceled. Because you will not let yourself be canceled. And once you realize that that's not possible, you can do anything.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. I mean it.
Uncancelable.
Such an elite squad. I love it. No, I love everything all of you are saying. Really.
I know, that's why I say I learn so
Tanya,
much
girl.
from these women every day. They inspire me so much. Often when people say, you know, thank you for the work you're doing, or what, I always say, honestly, I just feel like I'm lending my voice to these people. I really feel that, especially this one, it is her calling. She has been so unwavering, unrelentless, fearless, and I love you. I'm so proud of you and all you've accomplished. And I really mean, I always say, like, I'm just like lending my voice to like, amplify whatever she's doing, because you have been an Esther for all of us. So,
Facts.
yeah, you deserve that. I actually forgot what the question was. Courage, children, multitasking.
Yeah, you can just keep on talking about Lizzy. But no,
For sure.
courage, multitasking, being able to do it all.
Oh,
I
multitasking,
didn't even
forgot
talk
about
about
that.
How? Just how?
We did not multitask on the stage,
How?
just now.
There's no such thing as balance. I'll just say that. There's just not. I mean, balance is not a word in my opinion.
I don't know if there's like a woman that juggles family and career that ever feels like she's enough. When I was at F Factor, I was always anxious I wasn't home with my kids. When I was with my kids, I was always anxious I wasn't doing something for F Factor. There's a really interesting, scientific principle that you actually cannot do two things well at the same time, because you can't give 100% of your attention to two things. So even if you're doing 99%, 1%, you cannot ever do two things well at the same time, which is why as a dietitian, it is important that you don't talk while you're eating. I always say you can't taste the food if you're talking, because like,
How do you do that?
Great
because if you're
advice.
having like an in-depth conversation and you're chewing, you're not really tasting the food. So like I said, you cannot do two things well all the time.
Actually,
How do I juggle being a mom and an activist? Like I said, I'm probably doing one really well at one point and probably neglecting something on the other end. And other times I feel like I'm really invested in my kids and I'm missing like 10 news cycles and I haven't posted, and I feel horribly guilty about that. The thing about being Jewish is no matter where we are, we always feel guilt of some sort. I'm totally going to pivot and just say something. As these women were talking, if you saw me looking out to the audience, it's not because I wasn't invested in what they're saying. I was actively listening, but I was actually just trying to read the room. And I posted something this past week completely disparate from activism, but it was just something that really I connected with. And I believe that, I always say, like, if something's interesting to me, maybe it's interesting to one person. So that's why I was always such a sharer on Instagram, despite that F Factor was nutrition. It's always like, oh, this is my lip gloss, or this is, where we're going. It's like, I love to share. And I always feel like if something can enrich my life in any way, maybe it can enrich yours. And maybe that's how I leave my imprint, by just, as I said, positively impacting someone. But when I was looking around the room tonight, I was trying to feel the energy. Because what I posted the other day is, have you ever been with people and a group of friends invited to a luncheon, or you're just somewhere and you don't really feel that welcomed? You ever just sort of feel like these aren't really my people? Because they're not. They're not. And I'm 50-something years old, and it took me that long to really figure that out. That I have really learned that when you're comfortable around people, it's because they're rooting for you. Think about the people you like to be around the most. The person whose house you can just sort of plop yourself on the couch with. Those are the people that are rooting for you. And as these women were talking, I was like, wow, these women and men who are here tonight, they're rooting for them. And that is the power of the Jewish community. And Lizzy said it best. We can't forget this right now. We did, as Jews, become highly assimilated, very comfortable. If anyone, I've said this before, so forgive me if I'm echoing something I've said publicly before, but this harkens back to 1939, to Paris, to Berlin, to Vienna, where Jews were so assimilated. They'd married out of the faith. They barely identified as Jews. They didn't light Shabbat candles. They were not kosher. So of course the Nazis weren't coming for them. Those weren't the kind of Jews they were coming for. They were coming for the other Jews, the one with the payas, the ones who observed Shabbat. And guess what? The Nazis came for each and every one of them. They all, no matter how they observed, they all died in the same way in the gas chambers or by bullets. It did not matter how observant you were. If you were a Jew, you were taken to the concentration camps. And as Jewish people, we are such a small percent of the world population. 0.02%, not 2%, not even 1%. Yep. 0.02%, less than 1% of the world's population. And yet, we are so hated and demonized, or popular. And
On brand. On brand.
we were singing Wicked the entire way out here. Maybe popular.
Yeah.
You're gonna be popular. So I think part of it has to do with the fact that Jewish people are to be envied for many reasons. One, it is how our family values, first and foremost, how we celebrate education, how important it is. Isn't it amazing that less than 1% of the world population is Jewish, yet 25% of Nobel Prize winners are Jewish?
Let's go. Really?
God has been very good to us in many ways because, and I don't want to brag, we are the chosen people.
We'll take it.
Give yourself a round of applause. That includes you guys. We collectively. And it's why historically we always go through periods like this, where we are tested and we are hunted, from the pogroms to the Holocaust to October 7th. But it is our resiliency that has never failed the Jewish people. And to tie it back into something I was saying, I didn't want to look back and wonder if I could have done something more. Can you imagine the grandchild of someone in Paris whose neighbor was Jewish? And they said, Grandma, Grandpa, when the Nazis came for your neighbor, what did you do? And they said, nothing. So even though this question was about courage or balance, I think my time would be better well spent than to answer that question, perhaps, because these women answered it so well already. I want to encourage all of you to think about what you can start doing, and I'm sure many of you have done a lot already, so continue to do that. But if you feel you haven't done enough, what can you start doing more of, so at the end of your life you look back at this time in Jewish history and you know you did something, and you all can do something. And by showing up tonight, like I said, you've done something because you're inspiring us, but you all can do more. Keep going.
So actually, that was actually a perfect segue, Tanya, because what I wanted to sort of close with, but not closing yet, but the concept of, if there's something each of us can tell. Look, we have this incredible captive audience here tonight who are all here for a reason. They're here for a reason, yes, to hear your stories, to hear what we're all doing, how we're all fighting, how we're all working together, but want to leave with something to do. So again, back to, being action oriented. So I'll start, from my take, what I want you all to do. One, we have a table outside. Grab an End Jew Hatred t-shirt, included in your we're very thankful for your donation to End Jew Hatred. For everyone, just so you all know, the ticket cost went to our work at End Jew Hatred. So it's our rallies, our events, we have the most, I have to give a plug to Daisy. Daisy Khan is our campus fellow coordinator. Guys, what our campus fellows are doing. Daisy, she's truly incredible. We have campus fellows now on 50 campuses. And and it's a rigorous interview process, an application process, because we identify the loudest, the strongest. I can say one of my kids is a campus fellow and one of Tanya's girls is a campus fellow at UPenn. Yeah. But I encourage all of you that have college students that could be that conduit, can be that first line of defense for kids on campus that need to know what to do if they were wronged. That it might not be a legal issue, but it's a civil rights issue. Our campus fellows are constantly there, putting on events, ensuring working together. So a campus fellow might be president of Chabad, might be president of SSI, we have a campus fellow in Houston who's an amazing Black kid who's president of the Black Student Union, and he's an End Jew Hatred campus fellow. So what better way of, really ensuring that we are a Jewish civil rights movement, just like Black Lives Matter without the corruption, but the idea of Black Lives Mattering.
You're not using this money for a mansion?
Really? No, I'm saying, come on. So we're not siphoning anything off the top. We're very above board. But the concept of we are a civil rights movement, and everybody should be walking with us and uniting with us and working with us to fight for our Jewish civil rights. So I encourage all of you, what I ask of you, take a t-shirt, wear a t-shirt, post yourself wearing a t-shirt, or DM me wearing a t-shirt. I'll post it on our End Jew Hatred site. But we need to get word out that we're loud, we're proud. I have people that send me pictures when they're walking on the Upper East Side and they see someone wearing a shirt. Oh my gosh, someone's in a shirt. In Israel, someone coming off a birthright bus wearing a shirt. Because this is when just rote memories starts, people start seeing hashtag End Jew Hatred, and they realize that we're here to stay. It's a movement. We're not going anywhere, and it's a pretty amazing thing. And I'm gonna stop talking now. I'm gonna turn it over to you, but I also just wanna give one more shout out to, we have Marley here from UJA, we have Moji here from the Holocaust Museum, we have our FIDF, we have Galit and Pincole, and I'm sure we have other organizations represented in this room, but this is just another perfect way to see. We now have a Long Island Jewish Coalition, and they're all members. End Jew Hatred is a member, UJA, JCC, WJC, you name it, we're all members, and the goal is for us to let our Long Island community know that we are here, we're not going anywhere, and we're here united, even, as I said before, if our organizations don't always work the same way, and work the same way, and work towards the same thing, we're all there for good. And we have my own sister Vida, who heads up Barzilai Medical Center in Israel. And what she is doing is beyond phenomenal. And again, it's working towards bettering both the people of Israel and also right here in America. So thank you for that. So thank you all. So that's my piece of my sort of action item for all of you. And outside, there's also a QR code for you to scan if you are not in our End Jew Hatred action items groups. Scan it. It's admin only. I'm not going to say you're not going to be bothered, because you're going to get 20 or so dings a day of ding, do this. But you know what? We wake you up in the morning, we put you to bed at night, and anyone in it loves it. So you're making a difference, you're helping us, and we're doing great work. So that's my little piece. But now I'm going to turn it over to each of you. One thing that the whole audience can wake up tomorrow and do differently to do something.
Don't be afraid to call people out, okay? Like, I'm gonna give a couple of examples, but the first thing is when someone is sharing something that's wrong or that's anti-Semitic, but like that under the radar anti-Semitism that might not really feel like anti-Semitism, but it is, all you have to say is, when you say things like that, you're actually harming my family. And when I have said that and used that line with people, it opens the door to a conversation, and oftentimes it's more ignorance than anything, and they just don't know. If you go in guns a-blazing, sometimes it's not the best, but if you take the approach, of that is harmful to my family, most normal people don't want to harm your family. I mean, most normal people. I'm not saying like use that on the keffiyeh-clad, campus rioters, but I'm just saying like people in your everyday life. And when you hear things that are like anti-Semitic, and I'm going to give you a prime example in a minute, talk about them. A lot of you guys found me here on the East Coast when I talked about Dave Matthews. That's how a lot of you guys found me, because a year ago I went to Madison Square Garden and I was appalled by what he did in his concert, and he has since done many times. And to sum it up in a sentence, he basically talked about Gaza. He didn't talk about the hostages. He sang a song with some red and green lights. It was gross. It was really gross. And I had been to 200 of his concerts. Okay, so to call that out, like I knew if I were to call that out, like we're done here. And I did, and it went very, very far. Like the New York Post called me, and Jeff Coffin from the band, he's the saxophone player, was in my DMs arguing with me. We had really horrible exchanges, very horrible exchanges. And I have since called them out many times. But my point in sharing that example is a lot of people might look at that and not think that it's necessarily like hate or anti-Semitism, but it was. And a lot of people stopped going to his concerts when we started talking about it. So it doesn't have to be on social media, but like educate your friends. And like a lot of people come into my DMs all the time now and they're like, oh my God, my sister went to 4 Dave Matthews concerts and I called her up, and this is just one example, but call people out on the bullshit. Call them out, tell them that's disgusting, you're supporting a Jew hater. That's what I would say.
Okay, what I would say is that it can feel very overwhelming because it's like whack-a-mole. That's how I think we feel all day. But I would like everyone in the room to answer this question in your head. What do people come to you for? What do people come to you for? What is your superpower that people come to you for? Once you have that answer, now apply that to end Jew hatred.
On brand.
Very on brand.
That was actually very good.
I don't know what people come to me for. In the car, it was, singing Wicked karaoke.
That was very good.
It was not very good, but it was fun. I could answer this question a million different ways, but I think I want to take it to parenting. I want to talk to the moms and the dads in the audience. There was no manual for how to parent through this moment. And I think, we were, for the most part, very fortunate that we didn't grow up in a world like this. And so a lot of what's happening now is foreign to us. We heard these stories from our grandparents, our great-grandparents, but this wasn't our world. And I think, people always ask me, this is one of the most common questions I get is, how do I talk to my kids? Or how do I get my kids invested or involved? And they really look to you, it's action. They're watching every single thing that we do and listening to everything that we say. And, the question about balance, I don't believe that there is such a thing as balance, but what I have done is merged my family life and my activist life, and we're all just a family of activists now. And I always tell my kids, I'm like, you are a Savetsky, you will hang that hostage poster. And they know that this is who they are because this has been, for my son, this has been a fourth of his life, is his whole family being obsessed to the point where he calls a Jewish star an Am Yisrael Chai. He thinks that's what it is. And it's because this is what we eat, sleep, and breathe in our house. It is all we talk about. It is who we are. And, we really need to prepare the next generation for this fight. We need them to be educated. We need them to feel empowered. Because we're not going to be here forever. And they need to feel like they are ready to take the reins and carry the torch and light the way, because it's, we have a long road ahead of us. And so whatever you can do to empower them, to build them up, to make them aware of who they are so that there's no question in their mind that they understand what it means to be a Jew and that they are meant to fight this fight.
I love that. So one thing, before Tanya, you go, I have two of my kids here. And Viv and Noah, I love you so much. And guys, over the past specifically 2 years, I would say, the amount of times that I have not paid attention to them because I'm busy, it's now become a verb, because I'm busy ending Jew hatred. It's just become part of our lives, to the point Noah now is applying to college, and I apologized to him. I said, I'm sorry if I've been busy ending Jew hatred too much and you're going to end up going to community college, but it's all for good, but meaning it's all give and take. But what you said is what it is. And I think I'm speaking for them in that I think they see what we're doing is so important, and they realize that in the grand scheme, this is what it's all about. So,
Look at your daughter, Alex, who interviewed me for an ICC. And I mean,
Alex is a rock
she's
star.
a mini Michelle.
She is.
It's because of who you are. And I'm sure your other kids are the same way. I mean,
but that's it. So I think a lot of
if they can indoctrinate, so can we.
Yeah. And to that point, it's everyone's responsibility to take their kids to Israel.
Yes, that's true. You're up.
It's very hard to choose an answer because, like Lizzy said, there are so many responses that hopefully could add value to tonight. I'm going to piggyback on what you said, and I'm so grateful you answered it completely. I was choosing between two answers, but you spoke about one so well, which is the importance of leading by example. And as a dietitian, sometimes parents would bring me their child and they were concerned about their eating habits. And I would look at the mom and I'd say, well, what are you eating at home? And she's like, oh, this isn't about me. And I would always say, but you lead by example. It's like you can't expect your kids to be eating carrot sticks if you're sitting next to eating potato chips. It starts with it's a trickle-down theory. And as parents, if you want your kids to be Zionists and proud Jews, you have to be Zionists and proud Jews. So, like I said, I think you answered that so beautifully about the importance of leading by example. And so now I get to give my second answer, which I was sort of weighing between.
It's hard to go last. We save the
It's a
best
lot
for
of
last.
pressure. But because I'm such a perfectionist and I am such a proud member of the FIDF, I was like, what was it saying? And I didn't get it right. But to my team here, and I see so many of my fellow coworkers, that's how I look at you guys of the FIDF, is it's their job to take care of Israel. It's our job to take care of them. So I just wanted to get that right because it is such an important saying, and I was so remiss and frankly mortified. So anyway, let me answer now that question about what can you all do? And many of you are already doing it. Wear your Jewish identity loud and proud. Put on a hostage pin, wear a hostage tag, wear a Magen David, wear your yarmulke, keep up your mezuzah. Tell your college students, put up a mezuzah. Chabad or Hallel, they will do it for free. They will go and bless it. In the face of anti-Semitism, showing your Jewish identity is an act of defiance. And it's an act of faith. I would like to share something that I learned when I was going through something very challenging. And I was going through a very hard time. And I was in so much pain, and so much was being taken from me and talked about me. And it was the most traumatic experience of my life, that I was convinced God didn't love me anymore. And I must have done something for God to allow me to experience what I'm experiencing. And if God didn't love me anymore, well, then I'm not gonna love God anymore. And this started in 2020. In 2021, I wasn't healing. In 2022, I wasn't healing. And my youngest is my oldest child as far as like being an old soul. And Olivia said to me, the reason you're not healing is because you've lost your faith in God. And God only works where there's faith. And I returned to God, talking to God and praying to God, and I am slowly but surely healing and finding strength through adversity. And that is what I want to end with, since I've had the honor of answering this question. What can we do? Showing your Jewish identity when Jews are being persecuted, hunted, abused, bullied, harassed, is not just an act of defiance, it is an act of faith. It is showing God, we believe in you, we love you, we're proud to be Jewish, and we won't stop believing in you and being proud to be Jewish. We need God working in our lives. God's always working in our lives, of course, but it's when we feel God's working the least. And after October 7th, it was easy to question, where was God? God's testing us, and he's testing the Jewish people. So more than ever, show off your Jewish pride. I saw there's a beautiful table of jewelry out there. Go get yourself a Magen David, but wear your Magen David sweatshirts,
It's an Am Yisrael Chai.
your Am Yisrael hat. Buy the Lizzy Savetsky Hanukkah pajamas for your kids.
Yes, only $29.
But
Link in bio.
buy the books of Jewish authors, support Jewish brands, be proud to be Jewish. And what I've learned is God can make the impossible possible, but God only works where there's faith, and more than ever, collectively, our voices are strongest together. Each and every one of you can move the needle. And I thank you all for showing up tonight to support us in a small way, but more importantly, your presence tonight is showing the world that as Jewish people, we are not afraid, we stand strong, and the future belongs to the Jewish people. We're not going anywhere. Am Yisrael Chai.
Am Yisrael Chai. And you know what time it is right now. Noah, you know what time it is. What time is it? It's time for a chant. Everybody, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. End Jew hatred! End Jew hatred! End Jew hatred! End Jew hatred! End Jew hatred!
Michelle,
And really,
can I just add something so quickly?
Yes.
Because Michelle is so generous to give everyone that t-shirt. I recently took a trip to Paris and I take my packing very seriously. Rolling rack, shoes, purse, everything is very organized. And I made sure to pack my End Jew Hatred t-shirt so that I could wear it when I was in Paris. And I had a tour guide and I was there with my daughter Juliet and I was wearing my Magen David. And he said to me, I would tuck that in. In Paris in 2024. So because he was a tour guide, I didn't want to put him at risk. I spent the day touring with him, went back to the Ritz, put on my End Jew Hatred t-shirt,
such an iconic
walked
picture, by the
outside,
way. It's really
took
good.
a photograph, posted it to my Instagram, and therefore when you guys ask, how can I show my Jewish pride? Get that t-shirt, wear it tomorrow,
Wear it proud.
pack it on your vacation, wear it, take photos of it. Don't be afraid to be Jewish. That's what they want. And we're not going to give in to the bullies.
Exactly, that's it. Really, that's really what it's all about, is being loud, being empowered. Look, the other side got to where they are. They are the minority, but they're the loud minority.
By
So
the way,
they're-
did you see this merch that they have with the
Which
Hello
one now?
Kitty and the Hello Kitty with the Palestinian flag?
Palestinian conference.
We have to work on our aesthetic, so we could start with this T-shirt.
Yeah, that's exactly. So we start somewhere, but it's all about being loud, being proud, being empowered. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much.
Quick notes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A few very quick notes before you go. Afterwards, just one quick second, guys. Afterwards, feel free to mill around, meet these amazing girls. In the blue room, we have wine tasting by Bella Serena Wine. We have an amazing challah cover and challah. Chloe, come talk. Okay, sorry. Okay. Anyway, walk around, and we have Adam Mark Jewels, and we have Hero Collection, and we have amazing things. It was awesome. Thanks, guys.